Welcome back to your grammar class. We are continuing with the topic direct and indirect speech. You already know what the definition is, but I've just written it down here so that you understand everything clearly. Direct speech is the message that the speaker has conveyed or reported in his own actual words, of course using quotation marks, and indirect speech is what is being reported or conveyed in your own words. The words that you're actually spoken in enclosed has to be in enclosed quotes, and you have to begin with a capital letter, and all your commas, your full stop, your question marks, exclamation marks, all this has to be within the inverted commas. When you use the reporting, when the reporting verb is in the past tense, as you see said, S-A-I-D, said, then all the present tense, okay, which is inside, will change into past tense. So he said, I am unwell. So indirectly you'll say he said that he was unwell. Okay, so am will become was, past tense. But suppose if it is says, okay, present tense, and or if it is in the future, will say. So you'll say he says or will say I am unwell. So indirectly you'll say he says or will say he is unwell. So am will become is because of the change in the first person. Okay, but the tense remains the same. You will not make it past tense. Now the tense in indirect speech is not changed if the words within the quotation marks talks about a universal truth or a habitual action. So for example, they said we cannot live without water. That's a universal truth. We cannot live without water. So they said that we cannot live without water. It will not change. It will remain the same. Too many rules, right? There are still more to come. Okay, now here you have your simple present changing to simple past. I already discussed this in the previous class. This is the past tense. Again, I have already explained this to you. So simple past, how it changes to past perfect. Okay, reporting verbs like said and said to changes to asked, inquired, demanded, depending on the the context. See, he said to me, what are you doing? So he asked me what I was doing. Now if you look at what are you doing, look at that sentence, the question there, what are you doing? You have what, then you have the verb are, and then you have you, that is your pronoun, and doing, right? But if you look at the indirect speech, how is it written? He asked me what I was doing. So I is your pronoun here, you will become I, but I comes before the verb. In the first case, the verb came before the pronoun. Here I will come before the verb. So what I was doing. Was is your verb here, your auxiliary verb, was doing. So was will come later. First your pronoun. Okay, in the second one, if the sentence begins with an auxiliary verb, the joining clause should be if or whether. So if you say, he said, will you come for the meeting? So indirectly you will say, he asked them whether. So you're going to be using whether or if or whether they would come for the meeting. So will became would. Now if the sentence begins with a WH question, then you then use inquired or asked along with the same WH word in the beginning. So you're going to use the WH word in the beginning. You're going to start with the WH word. For example, just like the first one, what are you doing? So you said what. You're starting with the WH word. Here direct, where do you live? Now here the verb is coming first, correct? Just like how you had it over there. So where do you live? Asked the girl. So indirectly the girl inquired where I live. Okay? That means you're not going to cater to that letter, the word do. The verb do you're not going to look at all. A question is changed into a statement. For example, she said, are you writing a poem? She asked me whether I was writing a poem. I said to him, do you know when she will go home? I asked him if he knew when she would go home. Okay, will become would. You have to be very careful when you're changing it. Indirect speech is introduced by some verbs like ordered, request, advised, suggested. For example, Rafiq said to Ahmad, go away. Okay, Rafiq ordered Ahmad to go away. He said to her, please wait. Now please means a request. So you will say he requested her to wait. Exclamation and wishes. For example, he said, alas, I am broke. Okay, that means it's a very sad. Alas is used when you are very sad. So he exclaimed sadly. You will not use the word alas again. You will not repeat that word. You will say he exclaimed sadly. So you will remove alas and say exclaimed sadly that he was broke. For example, he said, how beautiful a place. Okay, this is an exclamation mark. So he exclaimed with joy. So this is a very happy exclamation. So he exclaimed with joy that it was a beautiful place. So I will become he, she, you will become all that, we, they, me. Okay, all these changes will take place when you're converting a direct speech into an indirect speech. Pause the video and write down all these rules, because all this is very important for you. Now will become then, today will become that day, this morning will become that morning, yesterday will become the day before, tomorrow the following day, last month the month before. Some more rules here. He said, I shall discuss this matter next week. He said that he would discuss that matter the following week. So you're talking about this will become that, this week, next week will become the following week. Look at the second example. We shifted to this house 2 weeks ago. She said that they had shifted to that house 2 weeks before. So ago has become before. Here are your modal verbs which you will have to change: can becoming could again. Okay, so please make a note of this, make a note of all these things when you write it down. Okay, with that I end this presentation. Okay, thank you very much.